Professor Hoebeke, a famous name in plastic surgery, was the first to perform the operation to turn a penis into a clitoris in a trans woman in Ghent in 1987. As chance would have it, I was on call, assisting in a prostate resection in a nearby theater. I was suddenly called to help Professor Matan, who couldn't find the nerve leading to the tip of the penis. I showed the professor what he was looking for, and he wouldn't let me leave. This is how, quite unexpectedly, I performed my first operation on a trans woman. Afterwards, the professor said to me, "Right, from now on, you can help me any time." I did transgender surgery from then on, and I've been doing it for 25 years. For the first few years, I operated on trans women, but from 1996 onwards, my patients were mainly trans men, biological women who wanted a male body. 5 years ago, I stopped doing these operations. Something had been bothering me about them for a while. Instead of sleeping, I would lie in bed worrying and didn't know why. During a holiday in Israel with my husband Roberto and our 2 best friends, overlooking the incredible view of the river valley in Be'er Sheva, we chatted about my sleeplessness and my work. Suddenly, the pieces of the puzzle fitted together. I treated trans people with heart and soul, but I was weighed down by the number of patients there were, and, in particular, the complications which some of them were fighting with. I was a second victim, I realized. That is a typical phenomenon for doctors. It starts with trouble sleeping, and if you don't do anything about it, you start to get nightmares, lose your self-confidence, and are overcome by severe startle responses. The next stage is burnout. It was then that I knew I could no longer handle the complications. The patients coming to me were getting younger and younger, and the complications more and more painful. I made a decision. I would stop operating on trans people. I stuck to that decision for a few years until I felt I was free from my second victim problem. I have since started treating trans men again, albeit less than before, and always together with 2 colleagues. That takes the pressure off my shoulders. However, I continued to operate on biological men who, for one reason or another, were born without a penis or had lost their penis in an accident. For these patients, we make a new penis, and that entails fewer complications than the genital reconstruction required in trans people. There is also another kind of procedure that I'm doing less and less, but for a very different reason than my psychological burden. In the course of my career, opinions have changed about some procedures, and therefore so has the way in which I go about them. I'm talking about children with both male and female sexual characteristics. During my year in the Netherlands, I was not only fascinated by pediatric urology, but also by differences in sex development, something we used to call intersexuality. This involves differences in the 3 levels of sex that someone has. First, there is genetic sex. Your DNA says whether you are a male or female. Then there is gonadal sex. You have testicles or ovaries. Finally, there is external sex, a penis or vulva. The 3 levels of sex are usually the same in most people, but they can also vary in some people. For example, someone can have the typical XY chromosomes of a man, but look like a woman on the outside, that is, with a vulva instead of a penis, and with testicles in her abdomen. There are hundreds of variations that deviate from the traditional difference between man and woman. Just thinking about the way in which such deviations occur and why was something that always kept me busy. When I moved back to Ghent from Utrecht, I immediately set up a special group of colleagues to consider the diagnosis and treatment of such conditions.